Hello, BookTube. We're continuing with my library tour of 2022. This is meant to be both a visual record of the books that I have in my collection now, and also a bit of a challenge to the rest of you. I would love it if you joined me and did library tours of your own. I have started off this tour where I usually end them. I've started off in the little book room, which is suffused in sunlight, even though it's a rainy day. Cameras can be weird and tricky that way. And we're just going to do another shelf. Starting with this thing, which is not going to come quietly, and which is beautiful. It was a gift from one of you. It's this illustrated Silmarillion. This is edited by Christopher Tolkien with illustrations by Ted Naismith. Let me show you one of those. These are just delightful. Just delightful illustrations all throughout with the ribbon bookmark and all. Just a beautiful edition of the Silmarillion, which I love, and which of course is going to have more prominence in 2022 than at any point in its past because of the new Amazon show. Amazon Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, is drawing heavily on the Silmarillion. So a lot of people will be introduced to it for the first time. I'm sure it will be reissued with a cover with the logo of the Amazon show. More people who get to read it, the better I like it. Then this next one is a mass market paperback. Ideally, I would like to have so few mass market paperbacks and so well chosen, such beloved mass market paperbacks that they can just go on the shelf with all my other books. Right now, most of them are piled double and triple stacked deep in a paperback ghetto off in another part of the house. When they really ought to, if I like them, then they're books. They really ought to be books and just be on the shelf. This is the old paperback copy of Dune, the mass market paperback that I read this in. I fell in love with it in this format. And I just put it on the shelf as a book, and I'm glad I did. What I would like is not to find a different place for it, but to decrease the number of mass market paperbacks that I have until they can all go on shelves, just as ordinary books. Then this next one is a self-published book. This is by D.K. Marley, and it is Blood and Ink. This was sent to me when I was the U.S. and worldwide editor for the Historical Novel Review Online. The Historical Novel Review is a great resource for those of you who like historical fiction. And they had an online indie branch, and indie authors were encouraged to send me their books. And this is about Christopher Marlowe, and it's quite good. So I was happy to get it. I don't get those books anymore. I haven't had that job in years, so I don't get those books, and I have to make a mental note every month to keep track of what's coming out in the indie press, just because I encountered quite a few books that I liked. Okay, this is by Tom Dresser. This is a travel history of Martha's Vineyard. This is one of those history press volumes that gives you archival photos all throughout of its subject matter. Martha's Vineyard is an island off the coast of Massachusetts. It has for a long time been a travel destination of one kind or another. And this charts the whole history of that from the very beginning all the way until when the book went to press. I reviewed this for the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, which was really neat. It's neat to review things for the Vineyard Gazette anyway, because it's a paper that I have read on and off for the whole of my life. It's an on-island paper. It deals strictly with Martha's Vineyard things. But if you go to Martha's Vineyard, if you spend even a week there for vacation, I've spent whole seasons there, and when you do that, you read the Gazette. You just find it and read it. So to review this book is fun anyway because of the long connection I have with the Vineyard. But to review it for the Vineyard Gazette and then put my own Vineyard Gazette clipping inside a book about the Vineyard, it was like Inception. Then we have Susan Bernofsky's translation of Kafka's Metamorphoses with this fantastic cover design. For once, I can sing the praises of an American cover design rather than excoriate them. Then we have another skinny thing here. This is a sloth in the family. This has seen better days, but this is the story of a family that adopts a sloth. The author's name is Herman Turler, and it was translated from the German by Maurice Michael. And it's the story of this family adopting a sloth. They then learn its ways and all that. And a friend of mine sent this to me years and years ago when I had a basset hound, because there are a great many similarities. I thought that was funny. Always brings a smile to my face. Plus, the book is charming. Okay, then we have this vintage hardcover. I had to get this for the artwork. When did I get this? Now, this was years ago, just a few years ago. It was a great book, though, in its own trashy way. This is Kathleen Winsor. This is Forever Amber, her big, fat novel about a young woman on the make in Restoration London. Was once upon a time just a household name. Everybody read it. Everybody knew of it. It's gone now. I don't think it's been in print in years. It is unabashed fun as a historical novel. Then this next one is also a gift. This was a gift from one of you. This is Heroes of Greece and Troy by Roger Lancelin Green. His retelling of classic Greek myths. The little myths, the big myths, and then finally a small, abridged retelling of the Trojan War at the end. This is a book that I dearly, dearly love. Love it more than I can say. It came out originally in 1958, and I have been in love with it for that whole time. Okay, all right. It's right on this shelf. It's right next to another retelling of Greek mythology, Mythology by Edith Hamilton, another book that I dearly, dearly love. The two of these are well placed together. This is the older version with Alan Steele's engravings rather than the new version. There's a new, bigger version that this came out in, a very lovely thing that doesn't have his illustrations, and his illustrations are so iconic for me that this is the version that I prefer. There's something sideways here. Oh, okay. This is Jim Davidson's book One Mykonos. He's a classical historian, but this is a very slim autobiographical account of love and lust on the island of Mykonos. Okay, this next one is by Andrew Holleran. It was his breakout book, and it is not love and lust, it is just lust. This is Dancer from the Dance in this classic old plume paperback. One of the really interesting seminal gay novels of 40 years ago. Okay, then we have the Pulitzer Prize winning novel by Andrew Sean Greer, Less. Less is getting a sequel, but this is also, in a way, a gay novel. Very, very enjoyable. I don't know which was more enjoyable for me, the novel itself, which I loved, or the reaction of literary snobs when it won the Pulitzer Prize, because it's not a stylistic invention. It has no grievances. It does not end in mid-sentence. It's competently, enjoyably done. It tells a story from beginning to middle to end. It advances a character and creates all sorts of three-dimensional supporting characters. And you're not supposed to do any of that in contemporary fiction, especially award-winning fiction. You're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be a tooth extraction ordeal to read, and one that is entirely dependent on you being on the same page as the author's cult of personality. This isn't anything like this. This is just a great, a really enjoyable novel. So all the literary purists, all the literary fiction snobs, went nuts when it won the Pulitzer. Oh, they'll give it to anything. Oh, okay. This is a historical novel by M.J. Pearson. I've had occasion to show this inimitable cover a number of times. This is called Helpless. I should point out, as I do every time I show you this book, that although young men are in peril all throughout this book, that scene never happens. It's a pot-boiling, gay, historical fiction novel. It's very, very enjoyable. And since it's enjoyable, there's no reason for me to confess that it was a cover buy. I don't have to say any such thing. It's got quality of its own. I don't know what you're thinking. Oh, great. Then we have Glenn Maxwell's thin book on poetry. This has a revelation on every page. It's one of those kinds of books. It's infinitely quotable on his thoughts about what poetry is and what it isn't. Just fantastic. All right. This is an old ex-library copy. When did this come out? 1902. This came out in 1902. This is Boston Days by Lillian Whitting. Just an ex-library copy that I probably got at the library book sale here in Boston. A whole bunch of famous luminaries and long-forgotten figures from Boston history. A delight for me. How are we going to do this here? How are we going to do this? That should work. The next one is by Andrew Pettigrew, and it is The Book in the Renaissance, which I got stuff stuck in it. This is a study of what the Renaissance thought of books, how readily available they were, how expensive they were, whether or not they were resold, whether or not they were annotated, how they were thought of in the house. Just a life of the book type study, only in the Italian Renaissance. I love these kinds of things. I have multiple studies like this on almost every historical period because I can't get enough of them. How people thought about their books, what they did with their books. And then this last one I have praised many, many, many times. This is A Book of One's Own by Thomas Mallon, who may have gone on to write some historical novels that I really, really disagree with. But this is an absolutely terrific book about keeping a personal journal, a personal diary. It's a historical study of all the people who have done it and the types of diaries that we have and the circumstances under which they're written. But it ends up being, it's not Thomas Mallon's goal, but it ends up being a real encouragement for you to keep a journal of your own. And you really should. You really, really should. It's going to be if you've never done it before, it's going to be an unusual habit for the first few months. But after that, you're going to rely on it. You're going to want to get to that moment when you shut everything off, put a pen on paper and just make an entry, just reflect on your day. You're going to come to like that. It's going to help you a lot. So I will take this book, as I always do. I will take this book as an opportunity to recommend strongly, not only that you read this book, but that you keep a personal journal. Absolutely keep a personal journal. And there you go. That is another library tour, and I managed to neaten up the shelf as I was going along. That's pretty nice. I thought I would be off the step stool today, but I'm not. Not because I can't reach this thing without a step stool, but because one of the challenges of doing a library tour is the ergonomics, how to position the camera. And I've got a perfect place to position the camera if I'm on this step stool. But for the next one, I would have to be stooping down out of camera range to get to the book. So I'm going to have to come up with another solution. It's not ever that hard to do, but I'll have to come up with another solution. So the step stool is going away for a while, and so am I. But I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.